All right, I've turned the recorder on. I'll call this meeting to order. I see Mike Washington. I heard Tony. I saw him earlier, and Liz is here. Let me get a notepad so I can write this stuff down too. So at this point, I'll open the floor to citizens' comments. Seeing no citizens other than us, no comments. I have no informational items. Look for a motion to approve the last regular meeting minutes.
So
Do I hear a second?
second.
Any corrections, changes, deletions, additions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Old business, we have no new business. Hold on, we have old business is the continued discussion and possible action on the Tri-Town Trail. I'm going to say based upon, I don't know if Mike, Tony, if you've, and Liz, you saw the, I know Liz, you probably saw the message from Tri-Town Trail.
I did.
Tony,
I
Mike,
reviewed it.
I reviewed it as well. So at this point, I'll table this based upon that until we have further discussion. Unless anybody has any objections.
Objection.
Moving on, item number 2. Regarding blight enforcement issues, I haven't seen anything. Liz, is there any update for blight enforcement?
No, I'm sorry. Kyle told me he was going to email it to Roxanne, so I apologize, and I will ask him to do it tomorrow.
No worries, that's fine.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. And for item number 3, I have no updates as far as the Clark Farm, unless anybody has any anything else they want to discuss.
Hey, Kevin, if I can.
Sure.
One of the things that came up at Planning and Zoning, we were talking about the Tri-Town Trail, was the farm road that runs around the perimeter of the Clark Farm. And I was wondering if land use had ever had any discussion about using that for as a multi-use trail, and whether the committee would be amenable to it, and or whether it would think it would negatively impact the future use for anything else.
I personally don't have an issue with that. It's never been discussed before.
I don't see why it'd be an issue, especially given the fact if you were to kind of somewhat develop the trail for multi-use, if you can get a car down it still, that's even a better situation, because if somebody's using the trail, they have easy access to go get them.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak? I want to ask Nate a question. Are you talking about just doing it on the Clark Farm, correct? Not necessarily hooking into the trail, the Tri-Town Trail?
Yeah, I'm really just talking. So I went out there a couple weeks ago just to take a look. So I made sure I understood, sort of the terrain around the bridge and, sort of the relationship to Preston Park and everything. And so I just walked, when I first went on there, I wasn't sure which direction to go. So I came on and I turned left and just followed the road that goes on the perimeter all the way. And it's really nice. And it's, it's a compacted farm road. It would be, my 10-year-old daughter could absolutely ride her bike on that right now, and that's why I was sort of like, and I went and I GIS mapped it, and it's better than a mile if you made a perimeter loop trail all the way around it. And so I just, but I didn't know if you guys had ever talked about that and whether or not that would kind of work with the ag use that it has been used for in the past. So that was really my question.
Yeah, no, we never actually discussed it. To tell you the truth, I'm going to be brutally honest. I didn't even know it was there. But
I think it would be great. You could call it like the Clark Farm Walking Trail or something to that effect.
But to the point, I don't think we have to do anything.
Exactly.
What Nate has said, it's already there, it's already existing.
Yeah, it's signage. The only problem is figuring out how to get across the road from the parking at Preston Park.
Yeah, that would be the only, they said 1 or 2 cars parking in front of the red barn there to go walk the trail is okay, but coming out of Preston, walking across 117 to get to it, yeah, that would be
That's
the
not-
only hurdle.
That's not all that.
That's not the Clark Farm, is it? Clark Farm is the one with the red barns on, right? Am I missing something?
I think, yeah, you got a point, Liz. Yeah,
The
State
Clark Farm is the red
property.
barn.
The one with the red barns is the Clark Farm. The old State Farm property is the one that's across the road
Right.
from the Preston Plain Park.
So which are you speaking to, Nate?
Oh, okay. I may have had those two properties confused then.
Yeah, that's
Oh, okay.
Norwich State Hospital's old garden. It
Oh,
was their
okay.
farm, and the state gave it to us with the condition that it can only be used for agricultural uses. So there's, I just want to clarify which property we're talking about.
My fault. I had the properties confused then.
No, but that's still not that's still not a problem though, because it was an access way for the farm.
Yeah.
Allowing people to walk on it, knowing how much the agricultural use is very limited. Even if you start growing corn or whatever on it, the use is going to be very limited as far as when it's going to be required from on a farming perspective. So I'd say probably 90% of that time that roadway would be vacant with no farm vehicles or anything accessing it, and it'd be no different than if you had people walking down 117, because if you walk the Blue Trail, there's a section of it where you walk half a mile on the road. It's not always through the woods. So I think, as Nate's kind of alluding to, being able to take that section and just making sure that it's clear for a vehicle to go down through and maintain it on a very minimal level. I don't think it's going to be that tough. I don't think it's going to be very expensive.
It's a little signage.
And I think to Nate's point, I think that's probably more. It's just adding some signs, making people
Yeah.
aware that you can walk on that trail.
Maybe put a GIS map together, sort of showing, where it goes. You can park, whatnot.
And as far as
We'd have to work with Preston on parking because there's no really parking in that location
Right.
on that parcel.
Well, you can park on it, but it's kind of bonsai getting down off the road.
Yeah,
You have to, like, go down a pretty steep hill, and
Well, and there's really nice parking there at the Preston Park. So
there
take advantage.
definitely is.
I don't want to advertise that, hey, we got this trail you can walk on in Ledyard, but oh, by the way, you got to go park in Preston, and we never bothered to talk to Preston about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it works for Preston too, because they have a nice, in the park, they have a 1/2 or 3/4 mile loop that is, it's compacted gravel. So it's, again, a nice multi-use trail on that side of the road. So, probably benefits both parties.
for the most part,
Was there talk of a crosswalk going in there? Is that the area that somebody suggested DOT put in a crosswalk, or?
That was the discussion we had with the Fair Association, that if the fair was to go there, that we would go to the DOT about putting a crosswalk in.
So Tony, the original Tri-Town Trail plan, which apparently is out the window now, had a parking lot there, a gravel parking lot. So you would come in onto the property in the right corner of it, across from Preston Park, and then the trail would go from there. So that was supposed to have a small parking area off the road.
Now we're just
Why
talking
we
about,
couldn't do a small parking area. I mean, we are at Registered Sustainable Connecticut, and that might be a nice little grant application. Throwing it out there.
would that involve the state DOT with sight lines and everything else?
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, so it'd be a bit of a project.
Well, yeah.
It wouldn't be cost zero.
Yeah.
you'd have to survey
It
for
would not cost. Mhm.
mostly it's a surveying for sight line through that section. I'm thinking the speed though isn't you've got 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour down toward the red barn. If you're close to the Preston park, the speeds over there drop down considerably, so your sight distance are a lot less. So it's really having somebody go out and survey it. What I can do is I'll go check. I'll be in the office. I can get a hold of somebody over at DOT and just kind of get an idea of what our traffic engineer would be looking for. You know, because since I kind of know him.
So let me ask you a question now that we're talking about the Clark Farm. Is there any farm roads at the Clark Farm? Because that's a fairly easy, flat sort of place that maybe people could pull in and park. Does anyone know? I don't know.
Near the Red Barn itself, there's a really nice field area. So there's places you could park, but the town would have to come in, excavate probably 100 by 100 area, 6 inches deep, dumping gravel, and then call it a day. And it's, you know, once it's compacted, it'd be no different than just a gravel driveway.
Yeah, and that's exactly what was proposed for that right there for the Tri-Town Trail, the big plan. So, and the same gravel parking lot at the other property. So I think that's, you know, something to think about.
The interesting thing is, if the amount of parking is very small, it's usually easier to get things through traffic. The issue is, like, when you look at Preston Plains Park, they've got a ton of parking there. They run events there, and so they're looking for a lot of traffic to be queuing up and coming out of there at any given time. Well, if you're just putting up some parking spaces, say maybe 10 or 15 spaces, you know, then the amount of then that oversight with traffic is a lot easier.
I don't even think we need 10 or 15 spaces. Maybe
I think if you can park, like, I don't know, 10 cars in there.
I was thinking about, yeah, somewhere between 5 and 10 cars.
Yeah, because let's face it, they're going to use the Preston Park anyway. And the Preston Park, everybody from you go by there in the morning, I see people from Ledyard there all the time.
Right.
It's a nice park. That does sound like a great idea, Nate.
Yeah, it's something I think we need to look into a little bit more, but it may be worth looking at, definitely.
Maybe you and I could work on a little plan of action. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just sort of struck me as a pretty low effort thing that we ought to think about.
So Nate and Liz, are you gonna see if you can put together a plan
Next month, yeah.
next month?
We'll do that. See if we can't write up some sort of a proposal and get a feel for.
What I'll do is, when I'm in work, I'll just reach over to across the maintenance side and talk to the traffic engineer, and just, he knows the area, is from Ledyard, so and get an idea of what he thinks the effort would be to just on going through his office for the maintenance side.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Are we supposed to be saying our names when we're talking?
Supposed to.
Okay. This is Mike Washington asking that question. Should we be saying our names?
It's funny, all this electronic technology, we're talking through telecommunications, and I'm writing down the minutes. All right, so good discussion. I have no other old business. New business, discussion, possible action to periodically review the town list of owned property, update accordingly. So this is normal for us. We just go through the list. We get the list of any of the latest properties that have been added to the town, usually through open space. Comes out of planning and zoning, the open space when the properties get deeded to the town. It's actually getting that information. And Liz, I may need your help getting the latest list of what new to add, so we can add them to this list, assign the administrative control, and then go through the process.
Yes, if you could email me the list, that would be great.
The list is actually on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, last
Appendix
up-
B inventory.
Yeah, Penny V land. Yep, that was
Okay.
that was the last update we did in 2017.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah, Liz, this is Nate Woody. You might want to drop Mike Morelli an email. I know he had an Excel version of
Oh,
this
nice.
at some point. It might be worth just cross-referencing the two. I can't speak for the veracity of it, but I know they've got an Excel
And if
version.
you want the real version, I think the Excel version is actually, keeps that.
Okay, better.
This is, I was talking with Roxanne and realized that we had taken several pieces of property recently into the inventory, so we need to update this list. So that's why it's here.
The last couple that I was aware of weren't on here.
Yeah, it's been 3 or 4 in the last, I'd say, 6 months that we've got through the open space and we have not updated. As you can see, we haven't updated the list since 2017.
Oh, so you probably have a few things to add, huh?
Yes.
Well, this is Liz, by the way.
Unless anybody has any other questions about that. I have no other new business to discuss.
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Tony?
I'm good.
Mike?
Mike is good.
Nate, you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Okay.
Good meeting.
Take care, everybody.
Hold on, I do need a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second?
Who got the motion? This is Mike Washington.
I'm giving it to Mike.
Okay. Tony.
Without objection, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:17.
Okay, bye, everybody. Be well.
Take care, everybody. Be well.